there, it's Olivia Savannah here from Olivia's Catastrophe, and today I'm here to give you one huge book haul. I've been procrastinating filming this. There are quite a few books to show you, and without further ado, to save time, let's get right down to the books. The first book I got actually arrived yesterday, and that is Demon in the Wood by Leigh Bardugo, and the art is done by Dani Pendergast. So this is the graphic novel about the Darkling. If you've read the Shadow and Bone trilogy, and if you know me, you'll know that the Darkling is my favourite character in that trilogy. He is the villain, and I love him to bits. He says the iconic words, "Fine, make me your villain." And this is his backstory about his life and how he came to be who he is. I'm really excited to read it. I can't wait to learn more about the Darkling and to get back into his head and back into this world that I have not visited for quite some time. I had a book gift card and I decided to spend all of it. So I've spent quite a few of it on the books that you've got in this haul, and one of the books I got for myself was Redemptor by Jordan Ifueko. So I have recently read Raybearer, which is the first book in this duology, and this is the final book in the series. I am very bad for continuing my series. I often do not do that, and I decided that because I enjoyed the first book so much, if I hurry up and buy the second book immediately, I will then continue on and read the rest of the series. So that is what I'm hoping I will do. This is a young adult fantasy duology, and it's got kind of like black culture fantasy elements into it, and a fated or a cursed girl who does not want to kill someone but is cursed to do so. There's also powers and magic, and the world building is immense. The first book is just fantastic, and I can't wait to finish off this series. Another one that I got with my gift card was Monstress Volume 6, The Vow by Marjorie, Leigh and Sana Takeda. Now this is a graphic novel series that I've been reading for quite a while. I absolutely adore it with my whole heart. It's horror fantasy with an emphasis on the horror elements. And yeah, I finished volume 5 and I just wanted to continue immediately, did not own this, and so with my gift card I decided to pick it up. Where we are at in the series now, I've pretty much fallen for all of the characters, and larger political wars and dynamics are happening, as well as a focus on our main character and how she feels about the monster within her. So yes, really enjoying it, and I do think this series has the most gorgeous artwork that I've ever seen in a graphic novel. I still stand by that. I was sent a series by the publisher, and this is the Annihilation series by Jeff Vandermeer. They have been reprinted in 10th year anniversary editions, and they are just so gorgeous. I don't think you can see the shine of the foil, but there is a shine to the foil on them, and it's 4 books long. It's actually been 3 books long for the longest time, and now they've released a new one. So I have read Annihilation. I've mentioned it quite a lot during my Gothtober videos this past year. I think it's one of the best sci-fi gothic books in this space. I really loved it, and I really love the film. So I've already read Annihilation, and the second book is Authority, and from there you go on to Acceptance, and then last but not least there is Absolution, which is the new one, and I'm very excited to continue reading this series. All of these have new introductions to them. My person of colour network that I'm part of at work had a joint networking event with the Penguin team, and there were some book changes going on over there, so I picked up What You Are Looking For Is in the Library by Michiko Aoyama, and this is a Japanese bestseller that has become like really famous over here in the UK, and I just know it's like cozy cat fiction, and it's not set in the library as much as you think it might be. It's interconnected short stories, translated literature. I'm gonna try it, and I hope that I will love it just as much as everybody else. I just picked this one at random from the table of book exchange books, and I thought since I'd seen it so much over BookTube, I'll give it a go myself. And then the lovely publisher Bloomsbury sent me a copy of Impossible Creatures by Katherine Rundell. Now this is a middle grade book about Christopher, who saves a drowning baby griffin from a lake, and from then on his world is changed. I believe there's also other mythical creatures in this one, as well as griffins, such as unicorns and dragons. Cannot be sure until I've read the book, but middle grade fantasy is a genre I do tend to get on quite well with, and I've heard fantastic things about Katherine Rundell's writing. She writes across all age audiences and genres. I've read a non-fiction book of hers about children's fiction, but never an actual children's fiction book itself. So this will be a first for me. And I'm going to say another big thank you to the publisher for sending me what is up to now the published copies of the Katie Roberts Neon Gods series. They've been republished with these covers, and the series will continue. And this series is a steamy Greek mythology retelling series with an emphasis on steamy. I've read Katie Robert before. She wrote The Court of the Vampire Queen. I know that I like her steam and I find her books enjoyable, and I'm very excited to delve into this series. So to run you through the books, the series starts with Neon Gods, which is a scorchingly hot modern retelling of Hades and Persephone. Electric Idol, which is a retelling of Psyche and Eros. Wicked Beauty, which is a retelling of Achilles, Patroclus and Helen of Troy. Radiant Sin, which is a retelling of Apollo and Cassandra. And then we've got Cruel Seduction, which is a retelling of Aphrodite and Hephaestus, as well as Pandora and Adonis. I don't know if that means all four of them are in it together or if like there's two separate couples. Then there's Midnight Ruin, which is a retelling of Orpheus, Eurydice and Chiron. And then last but not least, the most recently published one, Dark Restraint, which is a retelling of Ariadne and the Minotaur. So as you can tell, some of these seem like they'll be polyamorous. I know that she has done polyamory before. There's also going to be loads of steam, and I'm very excited. I'm going to have some fun nights where I stay up and read this series. I just know it. Really pivoting here with the books that I'm going to talk about. With my gift card, I also got myself a copy of The Crucible by Arthur Miller. Arthur Miller is one of my favourite playwrights. I've read several of Arthur Miller's plays by this point, and The Crucible was not the first one, but it was one of the very first plays that I ever read by Arthur Miller back when I was at school. I loved it. I have seen it performed in National Theatres since, and I've reread it before, but I've never owned my own copy. So I'm very excited to add this to my read books collection. It's about the witch hunts in Salem and about this group of women who are being accused of being witches and what they choose to do because of that. I think it's fantastic. It's iconic for a reason. Arthur Miller did a fantastic job. And then I did a book swap with Charlie from Charlie Book Reads, where she thought of me and thought that I might be interested in her copy of Moses Ascending by Sam Selvon. This is the sequel to The Lonely Londoners, which I read back in uni and really enjoyed. And this one is following Moses, one of the characters that we meet in the first book. And generally the books are about these men who come over from the West Indies kind of during the Windrush era, and what is their life like now that they are in Britain at this time. Then I went on a bookshop trip. So another occasion I went on a bookshop trip with a friend from work, and we had a lot of fun, and I picked up 3 books. In an Oxford second-hand for a very cheap price, I found a copy of House of Hollow by Krystal Sutherland. This is a young adult horror book. I don't know much more about it than that. At one point I definitely did, and I do not now, and I don't think I'm going to look into it too much. I've been meaning to read this for a very long time. People who enjoy reading young adult horror say this is very good. I feel like it was one of the books that started the trend of the floral horror dark books. So yes, very excited to finally be able to get my hands on a copy of this. And thank you to Titan Books, the publisher, for sending me a copy of So Thirsty by Rachel Harrison. I've heard really good things about Rachel Harrison's writing, how she writes horror books around 20-something-year-old women who encounter mythical creatures. And this one is her vampire novel. So it's about this main character who goes for a night out with the girls, and it ends out in a bit more of a bloodthirsty manner than originally planned, which means vampires, and I will read it because it is vampires. I think I've said that many times in my book hauls, and it's so true. Another one I got with this gift card, it was a very powerful gift card. I really appreciate the company that gifted it to me. I picked up a copy of Love in Winter Wonderland by Aviola Bello. So last year for Christmas I read one of her Christmas books, which I absolutely adored and thought was fantastic, and I gave it 5 stars, and it was just like one of the last reads before the end of the year, and I had a great time with it. And so I thought, when it comes to Christmas again this year, I would like to own a copy of one of her Christmas books, another one of her Christmas books, so I could read it in season again. So I am filming this in October 2024, I'm just going to date the video, and so I have it to read in December. Thank you to the publisher Chicken House Books for sending me a copy of The Color of Renge by Cornelia Funke. Now this is the 4th book in the Inkheart Quartet. This is a trilogy that I read as a young child. I loved the Inkheart books, and I'm so excited that there is another book coming out in this series and that I was sent it and I get the chance to read it. So in the original trilogy, you're following Maggie, I believe her name is, and she is a teenager who has the ability to read things and characters out of books, and she also learns that she has the ability to read into books, and it's about what happens when certain people learn of this ability. I know nothing about what this fourth book is about, but I kind of just want to dive in and relive my childhood dipping into it, so I'm not even going to read it for the sake of this book haul, but yeah, it's going to be a nostalgic read for me. So another book that I got on that trip with a friend, I saw it for 10 quid, which is a very cheap price for this book, and that is The Red Comet, The Short Life and Blazing Art of Sylvia Plath by Heather Clark. So this is known to be the biography of Sylvia Plath's life. If you want to know about Sylvia Plath, this is the biography with absolutely everything you need to know in it. It is over 1,000 pages long. This is a heavy thing. It's 1,152 pages exactly. It was on my wish list, and when I saw it in the Waterstones for only £10 in the sale, I thought I need to get my hands on it while it is at this price. It was heavy for me to lug around on our bookshop hopping trip, and I would do it any time again because I'm so happy that I get the chance to read this. I've been very excited just to learn more about Sylvia Plath. It's also got deckled edges, which I know is a controversial thing, but I really enjoy them. These next 3 books are all from publishers, so thank you Angry Robot Books for sending me this gorgeous copy of Odd Spirits by S.T. Gibson. Look at the shine on that. Gorgeous. It's also got really lovely illustrations on the insides, so just, yeah, that's one of them, but there are multiple of these in this novella, and this novella is a spin-off romance story between characters that you meet in Evocation by S.T. Gibson. You can read it as a standalone or you can read it as part of the duology. I also need to say a massive thank you to Faber for sending me a copy that was signed of Feeding the Monster by Anna Bogutskaya. Now, the tagline on this is Why Horror Has a Hold on Us. This is a non-fiction book about why we love horror, and if you know me, I love horror. I love horror films especially, but I also enjoy reading a good horror book, and this just sounds like the ideal non-fiction for me. As soon as I heard about it, it went immediately on my wish list, and I just wanted to read you the breakdown of chapters because just fantastic. The introduction is called What's Wrong With You because of the fact that you enjoy horror so much, and then it's separated into fear, hunger, anxiety, pain, power, and the conclusion is called Let Us Be Monsters. Delicious. I love it. And in the synopsis it says, by diving into some of the most significant works of TV and film of horror recent years, The Babadook, Hereditary, Hannibal, Get Out, The Haunting of Hill House, Titane, Yellow Jackets and Nanny, Bogutskaya looks into the horror genre. Now, some of those are my absolute favourites, especially The Haunting of Hill House, which is one of my favourite TV series of all time. I actually call it my favourite TV series of all time, and then Get Out, Hereditary, I adore those so much. So I'm very much looking forward to reading this. I also want to say a big thank you to the publisher for sending me a copy of The Grand Scheme of Things by Rorona J. Now, from what I understand, this is a thriller literary book that delves into the world of theatre, behind the scenes of theatre, what it means to have a job in theatre, and it closely examines racism in these spaces. Another element to me as a person is that I'm a big fan of theatre. I'm an avid theatre goer and I love it, but I do think there is a lot to be said about racism and the exclusion of certain people in these spaces, and especially at these prices, and so I am looking forward to reading this. I've also seen it compared to The List, which I absolutely raced through and blitzed through, so I think it's kind of a surefire win that I'm going to enjoy this book. This is the last book I bought with my gift card, Severance by Ling Ma. Now, from what I understand, this is kind of a dystopian book which has a lot of commentary on capitalism and the way in which we live our lives, and it's quite nihilistic in its nature, and so I wanted to read it because I love a book that is dystopian and has commentary, and I love a bit of, you know, existentialism and nihilism in my books. So I decided I wanted to pick this one up and give it a go. And then the last book I got when I went on a book shopping trip with my friend separately is Roadside Picnic by Arkady and Boris Strugatsky. Now, this is a sci-fi classic book. I also believe believe it's dystopian in nature. I don't know that much more about it. I picked it up because I am writing something, and based on what I was writing, my sister April, who is a keen and avid fellow reader, said that this could be an insightful one for me to read. But also I know that she really loves this book, and I trust her sci-fi recommendations. So when I saw it in the shop secondhand for about £2, I thought I can put that in my bag safe and sound, and I will read it. It's been on my wish list for a while actually. We've got 2 horror books from Titan Books, so thank you very much. The first one I'm very excited about, which is called Where the Dead Brides Gather by Nozuo Ono, and this one is a horror book that's set in Nigeria. I have never read a horror book that is set in Nigeria before, so as soon as I saw that element to the premise, I was very keen to have it and to read it. And then we also have here House of Bone and Rain by Gabino Iglesias, and this one is about this group of boys, this found family of boys who just have the tightest friendship, who are going to get revenge for the murder of one of their mothers within the slums. So I was very curious to read something that had that found family element to it. I love found family, it is my favourite trope of all, and I believe this is set somewhere in Latin America. I cannot recall exactly where, but again, to just read these stories that are set internationally is something I'm very interested in, and always like pushing to do more and more. Oh my goodness me, I said that was the last book I read with the gift card, and I absolutely lied about that. There's one more book here, and that is The Last Crimes of Peregrine Hind by Sarah Simone. So as we all know here on this channel, I love Sarah Simone. She's one of my favourite authors of all time, and this particular book, I really love it. It's short, and it's perfect that it's short. I have reread this book multiple times this year, over 10 times this year. Over 10 times. I think there was a space between March, April and May where I reread this book once a week at the very least, and as soon as it landed on my doorstep I reread it again, and that was a week ago, so I might reread it today. But yes, I love it. I love it so much. It's a highwayman and the highwayman's captive, and it's their love story. It's gay, it's super steamy, and I just love the characters. I listened to this on audiobook originally, and so I've been rereading through the audiobook, but now I have reread it physically, and from now on I'm just going to reread it physically because I have it finally. I love it. I think it's one of my all-time favourite Sarah Simone books, but you know, what does that even mean, because that's a very long list. Thank you to the people at Faber for sending me a copy of the Book of Abba Melancholy Undercover by Jan Gravel. This is written by a musical journalist, and it is the sanctified and official book of ABBA and biography on ABBA. It's got never seen before interviews with the singers in it and loads of facts and history. I love ABBA. I have grown up listening to ABBA thanks to my dad, who is a big fan, and then I watched Mamma Mia 2 specifically, not Mamma Mia 1, and from there it was a love story, and I was fully immersed in ABBA culture personally myself, and so I'm very excited to kind of read more about this group who produce music that I absolutely adore. Thank you to Fourth Estate for sending a copy of And He Shall Appear by Kate van der Borg, My Way. This is a book about, well, I really like the way it was described. It was described as The Secret History meets Saltburn, and it's a story about obsessive friendship and how the allure of friendship just grows and grows and grows, even though that might mean something sinister in this case. I love books about friendship and that focus friendship in that way, but I was also very interested in the dark academia comparisons and gothic feel that this book was presenting and giving me when I read the premise. So I was intrigued, to say the least, and snapped up a copy when it was offered my way. I also got myself a copy of Evil Eye by Atif Rum. So this is a literary fiction book, and we're following Yara, who has grown up in a conservative Palestinian family in Brooklyn, America, and she just doesn't like the way that things have been handled in her family and their beliefs and their systems. So when she moves away, becomes an adult, has kids, marries an entrepreneur, she feels like she's escaped the life that she was facing under that conservatory household. However, when she pushes back against a racist situation at the university she works for. She's put on probation and her mum believes it's because of a family curse, and while Yara doesn't believe in any of that, she's very worried that she's falling into the same patterns and mistakes that her own mother made. And so it's about her kind of leaning into her culture a bit more, learning a bit more about it, but also the situation with racism happening. Atif Rum's books have been recommended to me several times. A Woman Is No Man was really personally recommended to me and I just never got around to it, so I'm very happy to have a copy of Evil Eye now that it's out in paperback. I have a proof of a young adult fantasy book, which is Not for the Faint of Heart by Lex Croucher. This is by the author of Gwen and Art Are Not in Love. Have I read that book? No. Do I have it? Yes. But did I snag this from Emily's Unhaul? I did indeed. It is the proof copy. It's the kind that opens like this, which is my least favourite kind of proofs because they are so difficult to actually read. But nonetheless, she was giving it away for free, so I decided to snag it while I could. This is a sapphic retelling of Robin Hood. So the Band of Merry Men has like a woman in it. There's some story around it. It's Robin Hood inspired. I'm gonna try it. My sister April ended up with a duplicate. April is queen of the dystopians. She really loves reading dystopian fiction. It's like her genre. She rules it. And she has 2 copies of Julia by Sandra Newman. So this is 1984 retelling, which is told from the perspective of Julia, who is Winston's like love interest in the original classic. And so you get to see things from Julia's perspective, and I believe it goes beyond the end of 1984 as well. Reviews have said this is really fascinating and interesting, and I do like 1984. I read it a very long time ago, but I think of it fondly, and I do think it's one of the very instrumental and incredibly well done classic dystopians of its time, and so I'm looking forward to seeing what this retelling has to offer. I was also sent a copy of 24 Seconds From Now by Jason Reynolds, and so in this one it's about this boy who's going to have sex with his girlfriend for the first time. This is young adult, and he has been preparing for this situation, but he's currently locked in the bathroom and he's incredibly nervous. And what this book is, it takes you 24 seconds back from that moment, and then 24 seconds back from that, and back from that, and back from that, back in time, so you can see the series of events that have led up to this moment and why he's so nervous about it and how he cares for the person that he's hoping to sleep with in the future. And it's supposed to be like a sex positive celebration of black love for teen readers, which, you know, I do enjoy Jason Reynolds. I've had an up and down situation with some of his books lately, but I'm very much looking forward to continuing to read his books. I think they're always worth giving a go. This is also from Emily's Unhaul. Emily was unhauling The Book Eaters by Sunny Dean, and it has beautiful sprayed edges and it looks absolutely gorgeous under the dust jacket. I should probably show you. It's signed by the author, and I know that Bekka from the Book Sanctum really loved this fantasy book, and since she's been talking about how much she loved it, I decided I'm going to give it a go based on her recommendation. This is a story of escape, a mother's savage devotion, and a queer love that will electrify readers. I feel like I've heard Bekka talk about this multiple times, and yet at the same time my brain has conveniently emptied it of all of that knowledge, and so I'll be going in not knowing too much, but I know that there are people who eat books and a line of family that needs to be feeding their hunger. I was at Bookfest this year. I was actually working, but at the same time I got to have a little break. I got to have a little wander around, and while I was wandering around I saw that Leigh, who is the author of Jaded, was sitting there at a stall signing books, and so I decided to use one of my gift cards to buy a hardback and get it signed by her and talk to her about her book while she was actually there in the shop. Now this is one that I saw very hyped on Instagram. It's her debut novel, and it's about a woman who wakes up one day and she cannot remember the night before at all, but she is naked in this bed and she doesn't know what has happened, and it's about what happens after that, after that experience, after that serious moment. And I just heard that it's really, really good, and so I think I'm gonna try it. It's literary fiction, debut. It's always nice to support a debut author. I have a couple of young adult contemporaries in this stack, but the first one I'm going to talk about here is The Boy Next Door by Jenny Ireland. I don't know if this one in particular has disability rep. I do believe it does for a visual disability, but I really love reading championing disability representation in books, and I've heard that Jenny Ireland does a really good job with their young adult contemporary books. So in this one, it's following these two neighbours who used to be really close friends when they were kids, but now they aren't, and now they move back in next to each other while they are 18, and they both changed irrevocably, especially Molly, whose life changes one night when something happens, and I believe that is when her disability is going to happen. And I think it's a romance. I think it's about like accepting yourself, learning to live with your disability, and it sounds like it's going to be very, very good. So another young adult contemporary, actually we got, yeah, when I said there's quite a few. This one is Desert Echoes by Abdi Nazemian, and this one is about mourning. So it's about these two boys who are really good friends when one day his friend passes away. I'm not exactly sure how that happens. There's some hints from the synopsis that it might be something of choice, but I will read on to see and be able to tell you later. But he's really grieving his friend, and he goes to this place where he can really connect with his friends, and there he meets another boy in that area, and I think it's about queer love and romance and a lot about grieving and coming through those emotions. Grief is one of the topics that I appreciate and enjoy reading about, just because I think it's one of those really fascinating emotional turmoils that everybody experiences at some point in some way or form, and so I'm particularly interested in this book for that reason. Well, this is already out. It was sent to my old flat, and so I picked it up a couple months later, and this is Fast by the Horns by Moses Mackenzie. This is a bit of a historical fiction book. It's set in the 1980s in Bristol in the UK, and it's about this Caribbean British boy who is growing up in this community, and he has started to connect to his Rastafari faith when a situation of violence occurs in his town, and as the town kind of spirals into violence and is discussing topics like race and their classism divides and such, he's really leaning on his culture and his faith to kind of guide him through it. And I'm particularly interested in this one as someone who is Jamaican, as someone who has Caribbean heritage, and as someone who knows about Rastafari faith, even though I don't believe in it myself, but who hasn't really read many books with that representation in there. So I'm curious to see what this book will do with it, and the cover is really stunning in terms of colours. To talk about all the rest of the young adult contemporaries that I was sent, I'm going to whiz through them here. I was sent a really summer filled reading package. So the first one I have here is Don't Let It Break Your Heart by Maggie Horn, and on the front it says she just met her dream girl and so did her ex-boyfriend. And so Alana and Gray have always been the it couple. They've been really strong, but when Alana comes out as lesbian, they think their relationship doesn't need to change. They're still very tight friends. Instead, Alana is setting Gray up with girls instead, and when she is in the process of setting her ex-boyfriend up with this girl, she starts to have feelings for this girl as well. So it's about that. We have here Every Time You Hear That Song by Jenna Voris. And this sounds like it's something for me who is currently in my country music era. It's about this girl who's like an up-and-coming journalist, and when this country music star passes away but leaves clues to where people can find her final album, she decides that what she needs to do is clearly find this final album and make a story on doing so. She just needs a driver, and so she's going to end up paired with this annoying classmate that she doesn't really like to be the driver for this situation. So of course a romance is going to ensue, and of course it's going to be a bit of a celebration of country music along the way. Me in my country music loving period of time is going to have a very good time. The Girlfriend Act by Safia Ahmed, and on the front it says can they fake it until they make it. So this is obviously going to be a fake dating young adult contemporary romance, and it's about Farah, who kind of falls in with this theatre group of kids and really likes them and is going to be hopefully one of the up-and-coming actresses in the future, but they just need a publicity boost. So cue in, what's his name, Zayan, who is an up-and-coming superstar, and the deal is he will star in this theatre production in order for the publicity boost that he is going to bring along with it, and he needs something in exchange. And of course they're probably going to fall in love in the process of fake dating so that they can have that publicity boost. And then last but not least, for the young adult contemporaries, we have The Breakup Artist by Adriana Matha. So best friends August and Valentine have unusual jobs, which is that they get hired to break up couples that people think shouldn't be together. However, the latest couple that they've been hired to break up is one of their own, and it's about whether they can do that without breaking their hearts. That just sounds interesting to me. I'm not quite sure how this will go. This is the one I'm most skeptical of the young adult contemporaries I've been sent, but I'm going to give it a fair shot. We've only got a couple more books here. So one of them is one that I picked up from the charity shop while I was donating books, and that is Orphan X by Greg Hurwitz. Now, I think it's too many years ago for anybody to remember here on this channel, but back when I first started, probably 8 years ago now, 10 years ago now, something like that, I read 2 zombie apocalypse books by Greg Hurwitz, and I loved them so much. I think it was called The Rains and then The Last Chance or something. I had a love triangle in it. Teenage self absolutely adored it and adored that concept of zombies. And so since then I've just maintained in my mind that Greg Hurwitz is an amazing author, and he has a very long running series called Orphan X, which I've heard fantastic things about. And since then I've been curious about it, but never curious enough to buy the book. But when I saw it in the charity shop for £1, I decided to get it. Now, I don't know much about this. I do think it's got like spy, thriller, action-y vibes to it. I really don't know for sure, but I'm curious. I'm going to give it a go, and hopefully I enjoy it and can fall back in love with reading Greg Hurwitz's books before, because I really enjoyed them back in the day. But this one I don't know that much about, but the way it was pitched to me really sold me on it, and that is The Hollow and the Haunted by Camilla Rains, and it just said this is perfect for fans of the Raven Cycle. So I thought, you know what? I'm a fan of the Raven Cycle, let me try this book. And it's following this teenager who has grown up in a house of psychics, and he keeps having visions of this boy, and it's a boy who is going to be murdered, and he can't let that happen. So he's doing all within his power to make sure that this boy that he's having visions of doesn't get murdered. I believe he will probably fall for this boy. Sounds like it's going to be a queer, witchy story, and I can see the ties to some of the plot threads of the Raven Cycle. I just need to make sure I don't compare them in my mind, because nothing can compare. And then last but not least for this haul, I've got 2 proofs of books coming out next year, and these are both from Acorn Books. Now, Acorn Books is an imprint that Harper has opened, and it's an imprint that publishes and represents underrepresented voices in particular. So I very much liked the sound of that, and I wanted to support them, and so I said yes, I'll take these books and I'll read them and review them and see what I think. So the first one we have is a luminous shattering debut from an incredible new literary voice, and it's called Overspill by Charlotte Paradise, and it's a tender and devastating novel about love, trauma and self-acceptance, from what I understand from the back of the book. And then we have here as well Wild Moon Rising by Jenny Knight, and it describes itself as a powerful and moving debut about coming of age again, post-menopause and post-marriage. So 2 quite literary books, but I feel like they could be good ones, and I'm very much looking forward to diving in and seeing what they present me and what Acorn Books is planning to publish in the future. I think things kick off with them next year, so keep an eye out for that publisher. And there we have it. Those are all of the books that I have recently gained. Please let me know in the comment section down below what books you've recently bought, borrowed or acquired. Give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see more, and don't forget to hit that notification bell to be updated every time I have a new video. And you know what they say, onwards and upwards. Excelsior!